Welcome back, everyone. We're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the pleb sites. Joining us today, fellow Bitcoiner and candidate for Commissioner of Miami-Dade District 10. I'm talking about Martha Bueno. She is joining us. Martha, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for bringing me on. It's an honor.
Awesome. All right. She's coming with us down the rabbit hole, and we're diving into the numbers. Let's do it, Nico.
Number time. Brought to you by Nodl. They make some of the best Bitcoin nodes, like the Nodl Dojo, the one I'm holding in my hand. It's in red. That means it's faster. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core and the Lightning Network, all in the comfort of your own home. Get yourself a Nodl today, because if not, you're using someone else's node, and that's a big no-no for privacy.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 735,963. The Bitcoin price, 28,575. Chain rewrite day, 726. Total public Lightning capacity, 3,798.82. Moscow time, 3,500. Blocks to the halvening, 104,037. And the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity. Samurai Whirlpool is a coin join or collaborative spend. It is not a mixer. And the unspent capacity for that is 4,676.35 BTC. Nico, the numbers.
The numbers are looking good. I wasn't originally going to bring up an article to talk about CUBA, because we covered it initially when they had the NBC bit, but Martha and I had a great conversation. Phil was just kind of observing before the recording, so I'm going to save that for the news. And I replaced it with this. I was actually going to talk about this during the news, but I will talk about it now. Michael Saylor is earning his Bitcoin stripes, okay? This guy is feeling the pressure. Remember, at the end of the day, Michael Saylor has only been in Bitcoin for a year, right? How many times have I told you your first cycle is brutal? That's where you earn your stripes. Anyways, let's check it out. Microstrategy has a 205 million term loan and needs to maintain $410 million as collateral. Microstrategy has 115,000 Bitcoin that it can pledge. If the price of Bitcoin falls below 3,500, the company could post some other collateral. So he's obviously feeling the pressure. He's trying to ensure investors that Microstrategy can cover the margin call. Anyways, moving on. This is John Carvalho. We've had him on the show. Saylor is roughly $220 million underwater right now, so don't be complaining about your trade. Money's relative, though, and take a look at the Microstrategy stock, right? We don't look at stocks very often, but this is a pretty good visualization of how much pain this guy's feeling. Remember, this is a public company, right? That means that he has to answer to the board. Michael Saylor is in big problems right now. Take a look at the chart. Last time the company was at this price was in August 5th of 2020, before the Bitcoin bull run. This was his stock price was at $116, and today it's at $168. This looks like a shit coin to me, Phil. It went parabolic, right? It peaked, kind of went sideways, it went a little bit up, and it's down again. So Michael Saylor is earning his stripes right now. He's definitely feeling the pressure. If this was a private company, first of all, you wouldn't look at the stock price, but he would have no responsibilities to the public. But because the public owns some stock, right, look at the performance of that stock. It's freaking brutal. Anyways, Phil, what are your thoughts on this, my friend?
Wow, I haven't looked at that chart in a long time. That is a nasty dump. But I mean, of course, right? It's so strongly correlated with the Bitcoin price. I don't think we could expect, very much of anything different. But to your point about it being a shitcoin, technically he can dilute the amount of shares, right? They can split the shares. They can, they can reverse split the shares. So, there's that central point of failure, like in every stock, right? Like in every one of these in the traditional finance system. So look, at the end of the day, this is par for the course. It's exactly what it said. He is definitely earning his stripes. And you know what? Welcome to Bitcoin.
Welcome to Bitcoin.
I think this is our second time around. So but this time I feel like the seats, I've got better seats, and I have more conviction. So.
You still get hit in the face by the baseball.
Oh, yeah, no, it still sucks.
But at least you have better seats, and at least it's not getting hit in the face by a baseball bat, which is the first cycle. Absolutely brutal. Martha, how do you feel? How has this dip been for you?
Actually, it's been fine. I don't stress it. I mean, I look at it because for me, this just means that Bitcoin is on a half off sale. You know, I'm female. That just means buy more. Like
that is a good answer.
Like shoes, you know, I didn't really need any more shoes, but honey, they were half off. I mean, I had to. So.
Oh man,
it's so true, right? It's like if there's a deal, then you have to get it. But it's like, but we don't need it. But there's a deal.
But there's a deal. But you know, at 28, I was like at 30 a little while ago. I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy it. It's at 30. And now you guys are saying it's at 28. What? Yeah, I think I'm gonna go shopping later.
How do you think Saylor is feeling right now?
Oh, that looked painful. I don't follow his company, so I didn't know. So thanks, but ow.
Yeah, second. Well, for sure. Phil, dude, I went straight to Bitcoin. I don't know anything about traditional finance. You know that. And the things that I've had to learn is because I do this show, so I kind of understand how the Fed works. But okay, what is the danger from the public with Michael Saylor? Because I know that if investors start losing a lot of money, they could sue, right? Isn't that true?
Yes, exactly right. And this is something that used to not happen as often. And I feel as time has gone on, it happens more and more. So you have stocks which have inherent risk, right? Like it's a stock. It's not guaranteed to go up. And if it essentially drops too much, usually you'll have a bunch of bigger investors that will come together, hire a law firm, and sue them for, loss of value and stuff like that, or they were misinformed somehow. It's like, look, you know what, at the end of the day, you got to do your own research. And look, the other thing that could happen, even if they don't sue, I mean, the shorts, right? The shorts could come out and short this thing into the ground and make it. You remember what I said a couple of episodes ago, right? The asset's price doesn't always reflect reality. It usually reflects emotions. Yeah. Okay? Or in today's case, emotions and algorithms.
This is brutal. Do you think that this could have, which is what most people will care about, do you think this will affect the price of Bitcoin?
You know what? I think it affects the perception, right? Like I think that it affects the perception, but I think, you know what? Fine. I would say that short term it may affect the price of Bitcoin because people who may hold Bitcoin and they don't have that much conviction. Maybe they're just going to dump it because they see that Microstrategy is going away, which really is terrible reasoning. But hey, look, to each their own, right? Like, I mean, if you're afraid and you feel safer by dumping, all right, well, no one's going to stop you. But look, at the end of the day, this is just noise. We're zooming out. The Lightning Network capacity is constantly growing. The people that are developing on Bitcoin haven't flinched. They're still all developing on Bitcoin. All the actual fundamentals of the ecosystem and the community are all still intact. So to me, I'm sorry, not the community, the network, okay? All of this is still intact. So to me, we're doing just fine.
You said all that fancy shit, but Martha said that she's going shopping because there's a 50%. I like that better.
I meant of Bitcoin, not of Michael Saylor's company, but
dropping the truth. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail, brought to you by Swan Bitcoin. Check them out, swanbitcoin.com. That's right, it is a Bitcoin stacking platform by fellow plebs. You can DCA. It's nice, easy. Set it, forget it. Anyways, automated Bitcoin savings plan, an app to come. The link is down below. All right, so we all saw what is happening with the Terra Luna meltdown. We covered it yesterday. The peg that isn't so, right? The 66 cent peg that is supposed to be $1 that just doesn't exist. So today we're starting to see a little bit more stuff come out of this because let's face it, it's still unraveling. And the Bitcoiners, we kind of said, we told you so, and we're not wrong yet. I mean, this has been an absolute shit show, and we told you that you should stay away from these types of projects. Anyways, this is actually a pretty nasty message, but it teaches everybody a lesson about shitcoins. This is a tweet from Hodlnaut. He pasted the screenshot. Let's read the screenshot. My brain can't process this is happening for real. I was farming with osmosis in a Luna UST pool thinking that the crypto market was going to be garbage for the next year. Ready to buy the dip, DCA every month. Each time I'd see a 10% drop with nearly 30K UST after I began 2 years ago with barely 1.5K. And now you guys are telling me I lost it all? Not even leveraged? Not even a shitcoin, but a top 10 crypto? This seems unreal, and I can't believe this is happening. I basically lost 60K overnight with what could have been considered a risk-off asset 3 days ago. And I can't do anything about it, can't sell, can't buy. I can just watch it burn. This is insane. Okay, so look, when it comes to this type of stuff, okay, you see the wording that this person ended up using in there, and this is how you know that unfortunately the marketing is working for this garbage. Because this person thought that they were dollar cost averaging into an investment that was risk off. Okay? This is pure nonsense. We've told you time and time again that it's a casino. We've shown you the wrecked leaderboard. There's over $3.6 billion in people that got rug pulled on this type of garbage. Anyways, so it's kind of scary when you see accounts like Ran, who has over 609,000 followers, saying something like this today. Buying Luna now is the best risk-reward trade I've seen in a long time. There's a chance that it goes to zero, but if it doesn't, you may pick up tokens at crazy prices. This is why we tell you there's no heroes in Bitcoin. This is why we tell you you got to be careful of the influencers, okay? Because they're not looking out for your best interest. You need to be looking out for your best interest. And this episode with Luna is only the beginning. As Bitcoin's price continues to find support, find a floor, you're going to see more and more of these quote-unquote secure shitcoin projects start to fall away because they don't actually have a use case besides your liquidity. But when the market's dropping, you don't want to put your liquidity in there, so they're not getting any new liquidity. So where's the liquidity coming from? It's not. Anyways.
Dude, just totally freaking wrecked. Totally wrecked. Stay away from shitcoins. You know what? A lot of people probably ignored us on the way up, right? They're like, oh my God, I'm getting rich, right? But there's a reason, and we emphasized this many, many times, right? Especially when we were beginning the shows before the beginning of the bull run. Phil and I said specifically, it's during the bear markets that you understand why only Bitcoin, right? And the bear markets really show you, and they wreck you and they humble you, why only Bitcoin. And a lot of people don't make this mistake, and I've seen a lot of people do this, right? Where they hold on to their shitcoin thinking that it's going to recover to previous all-time highs in Bitcoin, and it won't, right? That's the sad part. So I know that a lot of people won't listen to me. I know that you have to, learn that lesson, but we'll be here when you do. You'll be here when the light switches and you'll realize why only Bitcoin. Anyways, Martha, what are your thoughts on the bloodbath that is just beginning?
Like I said, I am Bitcoin, and then Monero, and then Bitcoin. So I actually was almost oblivious to what was happening because I don't follow anything else. Are you saying that because I said Monero?
I'm just kidding.
Monero.
Oh my gosh.
At the end of the day, we're hardcore, Bitcoiners, I think, are hardcore libertarians. Look, to each their own. We just, as Bitcoiners, we just don't believe Monero is a store of value. If you want to hold it, that's...
I didn't say it was a store of value. I very specifically said that Monero is a coin that I am using for a very specific purpose, which is the freedom of Cubans on the island. They need a coin that can be private and that can help them get away from their shit coins that the Cuban government gives them or makes them use, which can't be used anywhere else in the world. So they need an on-ramp into Bitcoin, and that would be Monero, which is private. So that once we destroy the regime, then they can go on to Bitcoin that is not being controlled by the Cuban government, which is what was going to be presented at the Bitcoin conference. But that's a whole other story.
But just a counter narrative to that, because I completely understand that perspective of it for the Monero use case. But just a counter narrative to that, they could use Lightning where the funds going back and forth in the Lightning channels actually cannot be tracked by the government.
Except for the part where we have to send it to them somehow. Well, they don't have any cold storage, and the wallet that they can download and use on the island, because it's, again, a dictatorial regime, is whatever the government has. It's very difficult. I know what you're going to say. I've had these conversations with lots of people.
They can't use coin joins. They can't use Samurai.
We'll save it. We'll save it to the news segment. What is the next Phil, my friend?
Okay. All right.
This is exactly why I took the Cuban part from the numbers to the news, so that we could spend a lot of time going back and forth.
Okay. Here we go. All right. Moving on to
no, but look, at the end of the day, we had Jane Addams. She's running for Congress in Nevada, and she said she held shitcoins. Look, at the end of the day, you could do whatever you want. We're libertarians, right? You could hold whatever you want. We just believe that it's a waste of time. But again, to each their own, right? That's our perspective. And
this is the beauty of a free market. Sorry,
I said free in Cuba is never a waste of time.
No, and you know what? Look. This is the whole point of a free market, right? You have to have the clash of ideas so that we can actually have the discussions. The key is that we don't censor and we have the discussions.
It would be hypocritical of us not to have that discussion, because then you are the people that you are criticizing. You become the people that you're criticizing.
Exactly.
Anyways, Phil, what is oh God, I saw this.
You know this. You know what this is. You know what this is. All right, but we did a little bit of extra diving into this because I'm not sure that the reasoning behind it is so straightforward. Okay, do you want me to 3, 2, 1 it?
No.
Okay, because I wasn't sure, because
I'm gonna leave that 3, 2, 1 in the video.
That's fine. Okay, yeah, of course. Why not? Okay, that's a legit one. Okay, Nico? All right. Anyways, so look, we are talking about the disclosure from Coinbase. Okay, so this is a tweet from Sophia Zaller. New disclosure in today's coin, that's their ticker symbol on NASDAQ, if you're buying the equity, right, the stock that is Coinbase. Anyways, in their 10Q. In the event of a bankruptcy, customers could be treated as our general unsecured creditors. Moreover, because custodially held crypto assets may be considered to be the property of a bankruptcy estate, in the event of a bankruptcy, the crypto assets we hold in custody on behalf of our customers could be subject to bankruptcy proceedings, and such customers could be treated as our general unsecured creditors.
That hurt.
Not your keys, not your coin. And this is why we say that you cannot leave. You cannot trust the exchanges. Listen, this is a publicly traded company. I know it gives you the warm and fuzzies, like, especially if you're a boomer or something like that, you understand this. Hey, it's publicly traded, regulations, laws, all the red tape that makes nothing work. Fantastic, makes me happy. But guess what? This is Bitcoin, okay? This is a completely different landscape. They can just simply take everything away and it's just gone. And you really have almost no repercussions. Anyways, you need to learn about self-custody. So let's take a look. There was a thread response from Brian Armstrong, okay? And we're going to dive into it here. Let's see what he had to say about it. There's some noise about a disclosure we made in our 10Q today about how we hold crypto assets. The TLDR, your funds are safe at Coinbase, just as they've always been. In other words, take your shit off the exchanges. Learn about self-custody. So that's what he's telling you. Anyways, we have no risk of bankruptcy. However, we included a new risk factor based on an SEC requirement called SAB 121, which is newly required disclosure for public companies that hold crypto assets for third parties. I want you to guys think about that for a second, because we're going to go take a look at that document after we're done reading this. For For our retail customers, we're taking further steps to update our customers' terms such that we offer the same protections to those customers in a black swan event. We should have had these in place previously, so let me apologize for that. Okay, so what you're thinking here, the way the tweet is formed is that they're protecting you, the retail customer. Okay, but when you go and actually take a look at the document, and we're posting this in the show notes so people can go and double check what I went through. And I got to tell you, I went through this whole entire document. Nowhere does it say that under bankruptcy that your assets become their assets. Okay, this is a choice that they decided to make to protect themselves. Okay, anyways, that's my opinion. People can look through the document. I may have understood zero creds, so, people should check it out. Here we go. Let's dive into this piece of the document, though, that I think is relevant to us. Accounting for obligations to safeguard crypto assets an entity holds for its platform users. They're referring to Coinbase. That is that type of entity. Entity A. Business includes operating a platform that allows its users to transact in crypto assets. Entity A also provides a service where it will safeguard the platform users' crypto assets, including maintaining the cryptographic key information necessary to access the crypto assets. Entity A also maintains internal record keeping of the amount of the crypto assets held for the benefit of each platform user. Entity A secures these crypto assets and protects them from loss or theft, and any failure to do so exposes Entity A to significant risks, including a risk of financial loss. So they're protecting themselves from you with your assets.
So we're running a little late, my friend.
Okay. Anyways, that was just that was the whole point of that piece, right? Was to show you that not your keys, not your coin. You need to be careful. And to me, this just means, like I said, they're protecting themselves from us and from you. So beware.
Yeah, dude, it's absolutely brutal. I actually had a friend of mine real quick that called me, and he was freaking out. And you know what he told? He said, bro, how do I set up a hardware? I'm like, dude, I'm working right now. He's like, dude, I need to come to your house. I need you to show me how to set up a hardware wallet today. I swear to God. And I was like, dude, I don't have time. Let's do it over Zoom. And yeah. And you know how long I've been telling him that? I've been telling him that for about a year now, right? But it's only when he's seeing the stock price of Coinbase, it's taking a beating right now, right? It's down from like $342 down to like $50. It's getting destroyed. And then now he's seeing the advantages of what self-custody really means, right? But anyways, Martha, what are your thoughts on this bloodbath?
My thoughts go back to Cuba. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a one-track mind kind of girl. And this is exactly why I'm telling you, if it's so hard to train people in the United States, where we have access to all the information we could possibly ever want, if it's hard to train people on why you need self-custody, imagine on an island of 11 million people who have no access to this knowledge, that have very little access to the stuff that we do. So yeah, it's a tough world out there. And this is a really hard lesson for a lot of people to learn, unfortunately. Absolutely.
And usually when you have that lesson, it's too little too late. Right? So that's why we always advocate for taking your Bitcoin off exchanges, put it into self-custody where government forces can't have access to it. That's a good thing, as much as they'd want to demonize it and say that you're a criminal because of it, right? I think it would make the world a better place. I think a lot of the evil of this world comes from the fact of other people holding your money, whether your wealth, whether that's a government, whether that it's an institution. And self-custody in Bitcoin really does fix that. But only if you do it. And I know it feels uncomfortable at first, but once you learn how to do it, you won't want to do anything else. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Citadel 21. They make the best Bitcoin cultural zine, stories, articles, comics by actual Bitcoiners. Are you tired of clown world? Are you tired of the propaganda? This is an oasis of based toxic plebs. Every volume has different artwork. This is a volume for volume 10. This is the artwork for volume 11. And they're scarce. There's only 1,000 physical copies made per volume. Get your prints of Citadel 21 today before they run out. All right, so this is the moron behind the Luna. And this is the power of memes, right? Adam Back was originally telling him, shout out to Corey and Adam, by the way. They nailed it. They called this thing a fraud. They knew it was a fraud. And to be honest with you, they did get a lot of good engagement on Twitter. But here's Adam claiming his victory. Apparently he was right. And this is the power of the meme. Oh! Yeah, very accurate. Moving on to the next one. Thanks, Mr. Robot, for tagging us. Meanwhile, Luna, another shitcoin pump and dump scam. Bitcoin still doing its thing in the background. All right, moving on. This is Bitcoin meme library, bullish, bearish, Luna. All right, moving on. This has been debunked, right? The rumor was that Citadel and BlackRock were behind the Luna dump, but apparently that's not true. But anyway, Citadel, BlackRock, the peg, which is referring to Luna, the stable currency. Anyways, moving on by RD. Here's where we keep the Bitcoins, if we have any left. All right, moving on. This is by Rally. Thanks for tagging us. The pyramid of intellect, people who buy Bitcoin, the PhD, master's degrees, bachelor's degree, associate's degree, high school. I'm going to push back against that. In these days, credentialed people are really looking like idiots. That's all I got to say about that. Moving on. Everyone right now. The famous Matthew McConaughey meme. Here's Gigi when it's career day and your dad walk in with his NFT collection crying. And then here's Martha's Connor. He was originally responsible for the Bitcoin roller coaster guy, and now it's the Bitcoin McDonald's guy on the way down. Awesome memes. It just makes the bear market so much better. Learn to enjoy these times, guys. This is where you make the best friends in Bitcoin, and because of that, I'm going to give it a fork. Or is it a fork? Anyways, Martha, what did you give those memes?
It's a tough one. Those memes are really good. I'm going to give it a charging cell phone. You can't see it. Oh, there you go.
A charging cell phone for the memes. Phil, what would you give those memes?
Yeah, fantastic memes. All right, I am going with what's left of this frog tape. Yellow frog tape.
Yellow frog tape. All right, good scores. Anyways, guys, we want to know if you agree with our scores, you disagree. Let us know down in the comment section. Comment. Helps with the mysterious YouTube algorithm. As scores, make sure to subscribe to us on alternative video platforms because, you know, YouTube is doing the whole censorship stuff. Like Rumble.com and our personal favorite, BitcoinTV.com. And make sure to join our Telegram group. Link us some dank Bitcoin memes to review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News.
Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make some of the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the famous 3D printed Bitcoin grenade toy. Comes in any color your heart desires. You want a Peter Schiff color, but you know it pisses them off because they have a Bitcoin logo? You can get that in gold or in blue, any custom color your heart desires. You also want the Bitcoin 3D printed honey badger? They make that too, and it has a cool little, cabinet. You put your favorite hardware wallet in there. Anyways, take advantage of the promo code down below to get 5% off CryptoCloaks.com. All right, I'm going to read over this real quick just to kind of give you guys a quick piece of news, I guess. And of course, the Bitcoiners were right, and the credentialed class was wrong. They were saying temporary inflation. This is another vindication of two idiots on YouTube and the whole Bitcoin community. It's not rocket science. If they print a record amount of money, what happens? Inflation. Anyways, inflation barreled ahead at 8.3% in April from a year ago, remaining near 40-year highs. The consumer price index accelerates 8.3% in April, more than 8.1% estimated, and near the highest level in more than 40 years. Core CPI, which excludes food, energy, also was higher than expected, rising 6.2%. Who's expecting this? Because the people were also expecting no inflation. It's just stupid. This isn't only the United States suffering this. Look, the whole world is experiencing this. Argentina's at 55%, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe 96%. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. It's just so bad.
Don't laugh. Look at Venezuela.
Venezuela 280. It's not that bad this year, to be honest.
It's much better than it was in the past.
It's much better. So yeah, look, if you want to know why Bitcoin is necessary, here you go. 52 countries with confirmed double-digit inflation, representing 1.8 billion people. So when someone gives you shit about Bitcoin and the energy use, right? Just remind them they live in a country with financial privilege, but not so much apparently in the US. Anyways, okay, the hot topic that I want to talk about today, I'm going to start off with this, then I'm going to pass it on to Martha, and then hopefully Phil will have the courage to jump in as well. Phil, we're not fighting. This is how we talk. This is how we discuss in Miami, okay? All right, so check out the name of this article. 100,000 Cubans are using cryptocurrencies to bypass financial sanctions. So when we originally covered this and we showed you the clip from I think it was either NBC or CBS, we said this is the benefit of Bitcoin, right? It bypasses the middleman. The middleman, in this case, in the case of Cuba, it's a historically and still is a communist country, right? You have to have a bank account. Bank account, it's a 2 of 3 multi-sig with the government, right? With Bitcoin, it allows you to have your own keys, right? But what Martha touched upon about earlier, she was saying that Monero facilitates something. As Bitcoiners, right, we're just very skeptical of that. We believe that Bitcoin could do everything A to Z. So what are your thoughts on that, Martha?
So first, let's backtrack a little bit. That news article said 100,000 Cubans on the island are using it. I'd like to know where they got that number from because the Cuban government doesn't disclose it. But yes, Bitcoin is becoming a big thing in Cuba because the Cuban government is the one that is pushing for it. They made it legal. It's completely legal to use Bitcoin. However, you have to be sanctioned by the government in order to use it legally. So if you are not sanctioned by the government, if you don't belong to the Cuban Communist Party, you're not one of those sanctioned people. You're going to go to jail for using it. Beyond that, the Cuban government has decided that they are going to create platforms that when people send Bitcoins to Cuba, to the Cuban people, because that's really how Cubans make money. Those of us on the outside, I send money to my family on the island. Unfortunately, I have to. That's how they eat. But when we do, we're basically providing the Cuban government with a source of income. So the Cuban government's not stupid. They realize that there's only 21 million Bitcoins, and that they definitely wanted a piece of that pie. So what did they do? They figured out that if they open up an exchange whereby people who send remittances, such as myself, we send it through Bitcoin, they keep Bitcoin, and they get to give Cuban the shittiest shitcoin on the face of the earth. And it's called MLC. It is a coin that only works in Cuban government stores. Basically, it's a gift card with a balance on it. I mean, you don't even get a shitcoin. You get a balance on a card that they control completely. And that's how people are using it, which is why I've constantly said that we need something outside of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, unfortunately, in Cuba is through the Cuban government. So that's where I'm going with Monero. I know I'm going to get hate, but I hope people understand that the point is to on-ramp into crypto.
Hold on a second, right?
Yes.
But so the whole point of Bitcoin is that it's peer-to-peer, right? So why?
Right.
And I know that nowadays, right, it's not everywhere, but there's some form of internet, and the internet would allow a Cuban to just download any type of Bitcoin wallet. Why would they need to go through a Bitcoin exchange?
Well, no, if you can download a Bitcoin wallet in Cuba and people can send you money, but remember, there's no hard wallets in Cuba. It's a physical thing that you need to purchase, you need to have, you need to receive.
No, but you could download a cell phone app, right, Phil?
Right. On which platform would you be able to download that and bypass the Cuban regime so easily? I mean, I get it. I get that we're outside and we live in freedom, but it's a little bit harder when you're on an island where the internet and they go hours without electricity. And you're Venezuelan, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, we spend a lot of time in these countries without electricity. It's the regime that you live under. They spend over 8 hours every day without electricity. So you're talking about a very difficult situation. Most people don't have internet access regularly. Most people don't have. So we're trying to work around things. And again, the education part is a big part of what's going on. It's very hard to educate people who don't have access to.
So but I mean, like, really what we're hearing, though, is also like it's an infrastructure issue. I mean, don't get me wrong. If there's that many problems with the internet with power, a privacy token isn't really going to help that. But from when we were talking about before, the only counterpoint I wanted to make was that it's got to be possible that people can run their own node, they can connect behind a VPN, and they can use CoinJoin or Whirlpool. So I mean, like
I think that if we can manage that, if we could get that message out there,
but they got to fix the infrastructure first.
Well, that's not going to happen. That isn't going to happen. And the education also makes it very difficult. For me, it doesn't matter what cryptocurrency you're using in this case. For me, in Cuba, it's not about making money with Bitcoin or making money with Monero. It's about getting away from a currency that does not work anywhere else in the world. If you leave Cuba with a single MLC, what are you going to do with it? Nobody else on the face of the earth takes that money. People that are leaving, and we're talking about into the United States every month now, starting at the beginning of this year, we've had over 20,000 Cubans crossing the Mexico-US border. So we're talking about a lot of people leaving Cuba, and they're leaving with nothing. So if we can get them on anything where they can sell their things and come to, whether it's the United States, they're leaving through Nicaragua, they're going to Mexico, anywhere they land, they will have access to something. Something is better than nothing. So to me, it's the least of the evils, right? And it just seems that Monero is easier for people to get on and not have the issues. Now, you know, again, we can argue back and forth about what's private, or it's just, you can see every transaction. If the government gets a hold of your wallet, they can tell who you are and what you've received and from who. So it's just a matter of, it's 10 years in jail. But I'm looking out for people.
How could they see, like, are they going to subpoena an American exchange? How are they going to see where it came from? Like, if it's just a Bitcoin address. Right.
But it's about so in Cuba, you don't have the protections you have in the United States. One of the so I've been sending medicine to Cuba now since the July 11th protest started. And one of the people that I send medicine to, he has cystic fibrosis, real great kid. He was just arrested over this weekend. And what did he do? The first thing he did when he realized that it was going to happen is he deleted everything off of his phone, everything, because they will get access to your phone and go through your things. So it's a different situation. It's really hard for me to articulate when, you know, we live here and it's different. The situation that happens in Cuba, they can go through your phone. They can see your stuff. Yeah. We are used to the protections of the United States, of Apple saying, no, we're not going to. Most people are on Android in Cuba. They don't have access to iPhones. And then the government will go through your stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So fair enough. I do believe, however, that I think Bitcoin fixes all, you know, could do, but could do the things that Monero does. But I understand that I'm not in your shoes. Okay, so I'm not going to pretend like I know. But what I will say is there hope? Is there hope for freedom? Do you see Bitcoin facilitating that freedom? We've actually done an episode on this before. We actually had Vikingo, also from Miami, and we asked him the same question. But Martha, clearly you're a little bit plugged in more, right? You involved. Do you see, because at the end of the day, you want to topple a communist government. Really what it is, it's free market and religion. Those are the things that are known to work best. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you see Bitcoin playing a key role?
Absolutely. I see, again, I'm just going to Bitcoin and or other. I do. Absolutely. How can it not, right? I mean, you see it all around the world. You see how having access to something that a government can't control is freedom. And so in Cuba, we need to educate people. We need people to understand that their government is what is keeping them in that position. They live in an island where they're surrounded by water. They're surrounded by fish, and yet their government doesn't let them fish. So they're starving instead of being able to throw, you know, like anybody here in the United States, if you were hungry and you lived right outside of a beautiful ocean, you'd go fishing. So it's just, people need that education. And I think that crypto plus that education is definitely going to be the future. It's going to provide a free market. It's going to provide people the opportunity to buy things, make money on the island by working remotely, which they can't do now because they can't receive payment in any currency that, you know, any easy way. So yeah, absolutely. It's the future. It's going to provide freedom, not just for Cuba. I just hope Cuba is our use case.
So I know that there was a huge protest that was brought up by, you know, the virus and the medical infrastructure, which is non-existent as much as they would like you to believe in the media. That
medical marvel of the world.
That's some fucking left-wing propaganda. That's bullshit. You go to the hospital there's nothing there. But
thank you, Michael Moore.
But
sorry, Canada.
Okay, so how strong is the government? How much power do they still possess? Do you see that being chipped away? In my opinion, right, I haven't been to Cuba. The last time I went, I was like 16, right? You have to
Never
go at
been.
least once. It's insane.
I will go once this regime falls.
It's stuck. It's an island
No,
stuck in time.
please don't have people go, because every time you travel to Cuba, you literally put money in the hands of the communist regime. Please don't go. Don't listen to Nico.
Hold on a second. So, but what gives me hope is the internet. And with the internet comes the ability for people to question things. And then hopefully it brings in a little bit of capitalism once people get a taste of what it is to be self-dependent and be able to sell and receive things. That's when, you start asking a little bit of questions, right? Of like, why are we so poor, and why is everyone doing a little bit better than us? Right. So
I was corrected on something recently where I said the same thing, that once people start trading in Cuba and, black market or a free market, things are going to change. And I was corrected by Cubans that live there. And they said, you don't understand. We have the freest black market anywhere. You can get any. The problem is you don't have money. You don't have access to it unless you have people outside. So the Cubans understand the concept of a free market. Don't get that part wrong, because I sure did. They totally get that. They get that they don't have access to things. They get that they need special currency to go into these government stores where they do sell more things. The problem with Cuba is beyond that. So every dollar that comes into Cuba is controlled by the Cuban government, including the people who go work outside. So we were talking about medicine. Cuba's known for shipping their doctors around the world. There's just recently an episode of Reason magazine they did.
Very good.
It was great. They human traffic doctors. There's no other way to put it. Basically, the government decides that you're a doctor and you're going to go to, I don't know, Venezuela, anywhere. And the government of that country pays Cuba thousands of dollars per doctor, but they get less than $100 a month. I mean, it's horrible, the conditions. So the propaganda machine is big. There's just so much to cover. But there were protests that happened on July 11th. People talked about how it was about COVID. It had nothing to do with COVID. It was just the situation in Cuba is so dire that people were like, you know what? That's it. We're just going to go out and protest. And over those protests, over 1,000 people have been thrown in jail and or killed or disappeared, of which 50 of them are children under the age of 17, from 13 to 17. Many of those children have already been sentenced to over 10 years. Some are still waiting sentences. So it's a horrible problem. The Biden administration just had a meeting with the Cuban government recently, and they're seeming to open up relationships. But what people don't understand is if they want to open up relationships, they need to demand that the Cuban government release all political prisoners. They need to demand free elections in Cuba. They need to demand that people have access.
It's purposeful. I think America is kind of enduring like a mini cultural revolution. You kind of see it in society. So I wouldn't surprise me, right? So I think that a lot of the things that's happening right now is on purpose. Anyways, just going to brush over that. Martha, most important point, you're running for Miami-Dade County Commissioner representing District 10. Here's a donate page. You guys should donate. Why should people support you, Martha? Why should the Bitcoin community vote for Martha Bueno in Miami, if you live in Miami? If you live in Miami.
If you live in District 10 specifically, you can't vote all over Miami, but I will be able to represent all of the Bitcoin community in Miami, because a commissioner only gets voted in from your area, but you do end up representing the entire Miami-Dade County. And why should they support me? Well, I'm a firm Bitcoiner. I know it sounds like I'm in the Monero camp too. I am. But I am here for freedom, and I'm here for Bitcoin. And I think that between Mayor Francis Suarez, he's the mayor of the city of Miami. I would be, if I get the seat, if I win this race, I will be above him, making sure that we have people who not only understand Bitcoin, but who are in favor of Bitcoin making these decisions. Look what he's managed to accomplish. We've had 2 years of the Bitcoin conference here in Miami. We've had the Bitcoin community moving to Miami. Shucks, we got Lynn Albrecht, who moved to Miami because she realized that here's where the community is for her, to free her son. So this is what we're doing in Miami. We are going to be the Bitcoin capital, and I want to make sure that happens.
Okay, fair enough. Phil, any closing thoughts?
No, not really. Just I learned a lot about CUBA. I really appreciate it. There was a lot of stuff that you mentioned that I really wasn't aware of, and now it just makes me, really want to dive more into Bitcoin's privacy tools because, yes, we are at the end of the day Bitcoin maximalists, and for me, all I see is, hey, there's possibly there's a challenge that, we need a solution for. So
I love it. And once you guys have that solution, let me know. I'm fully on board. For me,
You're fully on board to drop the Monero shitcoin if Bitcoin could present you a better solution. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Woo! All right, we're making progress.
I need Cuba free, man. I will do anything to free this country. So
hey, let's free Cuba. Let's free Venezuela. Let's use Bitcoin to do that. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out. CipherSafe.io, the best way to store your Bitcoin seed. Store it in the Cypher wheel or the all-new Cypher grid. Paper is dead. Both of these devices come with a tamper-resistant wire, and the grid comes with a punch tool. All right, we've got Arti version 0.3.0 that was released. That is down below in the show notes. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, you can do it through fountain.fm using Breeze.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, before we go, I want to give a very special shout out to our clothing sponsor, representltd.com. I'm wearing the Bitcoin merch. Phil's wearing the Maximoff merch. He's also making simply Bitcoin merch and more Bitcoin merch. Definitely go check it out, representltd.com. You can take advantage of the promo code down below to get 10% off. I also want to give a very special shout out to our awesome guest. You can go give her a follow on Twitter at Bueno for Miami. Go help out her campaign, marthabueno.com/donate. Guys, that was the show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Of course, you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective and the catastrophic fails, definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode.
Bitcoin is hope. Bitcoin is freedom. Opt out.